What if I told you that when your beloved cat takes its final breath, its soul does not vanish into nothingness, but instead steps into a sacred journey watched over by the unseen hand of God? For centuries, prophets and mystics from the wisdom of ancient Egypt to the 40 days of Christ's resurrection to the whispers of Edgar Cayce have spoken of a passage beyond death, a time when the soul is closest to us, yet walking toward eternity. Imagine standing in the quiet of your home after loss and sensing a presence, a gentle brush against your leg, a familiar sound in the stillness. Is it memory? Or is it your cat's soul reminding you that love never dies? These moments are not illusions, they are invitations. They are glimpses into a mystery that binds heaven and earth, a divine sequence unfolding just beyond our ordinary sight. Today, we enter that mystery together. We will walk the first 30 days of a cat's soul after death, guided not by fear but by faith, by prophecy, and by the eternal promise that nothing created in love is ever lost. So take a deep breath, open your heart, and prepare to glimpse the unseen thread that connects your pet's spirit to God's eternal design. The first moments after a beloved cat passes are not an ending but a trembling threshold. Edgar Cayce, often called the sleeping prophet, described the departure of the soul as a sacred interval, a passage not into silence but into a field of heightened awareness. Just as Christ appeared for 40 days after resurrection, or as the Tibetan bardo teaches of 49 days of transition, the soul of an animal too lingers between worlds, neither bound to the body nor fully freed into eternity. The air around us in those hours is not empty. It is alive with presence. Imagine this: you sit quietly after your cat has taken its last breath. The room feels both heavy and strangely light. A clock on the wall stops for no reason. The air shifts as though time itself has bent. Some describe a faint scent like the fur they once stroked, or the flowers that mark their pet's burial. Others hear a soft sound in the night pause that no longer walk the earth, but echo in memory. These are not accidents. Cayce believed such signs are the soul's way of lingering, testing the edges of the veil, whispering to those it loved that it is not gone. The ancients seem to know this truth. The Egyptians placed rituals in their Book of the Dead to guide spirits safely across the threshold. In Christian tradition, angels are said to encircle the newly departed, guarding them from confusion. And how many grieving pet owners have felt that brush at their feet, the sudden chill on their skin, or the sense of eyes watching tenderly from the shadows? Such encounters are not hallucinations. They are the signatures of a soul still tethered to love, not yet ready to ascend. Cayce described these first 3 days as a phase of gentle detachment. Just as a dreamer slowly realizes they are waking the soul of the cat, realizes it has laid down its body, but not its essence. It hovers near familiar places, the corner of the couch where it once napped, the kitchen where it meowed for food, the bedroom where it curled at your side. The presence is real, though unseen. Only those attuned children, the deeply faithful, or those who carry an open heart may feel it vividly. This lingering is not a punishment. It is a gift of transition, a grace that allows love to echo before silence sets in. Think of it like the faint glow of twilight. The day has ended, but the sun's warmth has not fully left the horizon. The soul, too, leaves traces fading slowly, so that those left behind might learn that separation is never absolute. Here lies a lesson. Grief blinds us to the signs of the sacred. Too often we dismiss the stopped clock, the sudden stirring of wind in a closed room, the dream where our pet appears one last time. We say it's only my imagination. But what if imagination is the very doorway through which eternity speaks? What if God, in His mercy, allows the souls of His creatures to comfort us briefly so that loss does not harden into despair? The Bible reminds us, not one sparrow falls to the ground without the Father knowing. Matthew 10:29. If even the sparrow is remembered, how much more the faithful companion who walked beside us with devotion. There is also a role unseen, the guardian angels. Cayce hinted that during this fragile interval, angels draw close not to carry the soul immediately away, but to steady it, to guide its first steps. These presences are felt as calm as peace that settles like morning dew. If you have ever wept at your cat's side and suddenly felt a warmth upon your shoulder, as though invisible wings enfolded you, perhaps it was not only your imagination. Perhaps it was heaven answering, reminding you that your pet is not abandoned. The mistake we often make is to think that silence means absence. In truth, silence is often the holiest speech. The cat's soul lingers as reflection, as reassurance, as reminder. It is as if God himself is whispering love is stronger than death. Trust that what you shared was eternal, not fragile. So, what can we take from this? First, that loss is not a severing, but a passage. Second, that signs, no matter how subtle, are invitations to believe that God's design is deeper than we grasp. And third, that our role is not to cling, but to witness. To let the lingering soul teach us that love crosses every boundary, even the grave. As these first days unfold, the veil does not remain still. Soon the pull of the higher plane begins. Angels who watched in silence will step forward. The soul once lingering by the window or curled at your empty pillow will hear the faint call of eternity. And it is here in this sacred shift that the real journey begins. If the first days are twilight, when the cat's soul still lingers in the familiar, then the middle passage is dawn, the slow rising of a new light. Edgar Cayce spoke often of this interval, a realm not of heaven or hell, but of reflection, learning, and choice. Here the soul begins to step away from the echoes of earthly rooms and into a dimension woven of energy, memory, and divine law. This is where the mystery of karma awakens. We often imagine karma as punishment, but Cayce insisted it is something gentler, more profound, the law of cause and effect, written into the fabric of God's creation. For a human soul, it might mean revisiting choices of kindness or cruelty. For an animal soul, especially, one like a cat that has lived in such intimacy with its human karma. Karma is expressed through bonds of loyalty, lessons of trust, and the rhythm of love it gave and received. The life it lived, whether cherished or neglected, echoes now as vibration shaping the environment it enters. Imagine a cat who lived its years in warmth, cradled in arms, fed with tenderness. In this intermediate plane, its soul radiates peace, entering what Cayce called harmonic fields, places where love itself shapes the landscape. Here, every thought becomes light, every memory becomes music. Contrast this with the soul of a creature abandoned, mistreated, or forgotten. Its realm may feel colder, shaded, not as punishment, but as a reflection of what it absorbed. Yet even here there is no eternal condemnation, only the gentle hand of God, allowing each soul to see itself, to learn, and to choose whether to heal. Many traditions mirror this teaching. In the book of Revelation, John describes souls waiting beneath the altar, clothed in white, still in process. Tibetan Buddhists describe the bardo as filled with visions created by the mind itself. And in near-death experiences studied by modern science survivors, recount realms shaped by thought communication without words and landscapes bending to emotion. It is striking how these testimonies align with Cayce's insights that in this middle passage, reality is no longer external, it is the reflection of the soul's vibration. But there is more. In this passage, the cat's soul does not wander alone. Cayce described guides, beings of light, sometimes interpreted as angels, sometimes as familiar souls from past bonds. Have you ever felt after the loss of a pet that they returned to you in dreams, accompanied by other faces you could not name? These visions may be glimpses of that guidance, just as God sends his angels to minister to humans. So too, the smallest creature is not left untended. The psalmist's words ring true. He will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. Psalm 91:11. There is also the mysterious power of prayer. Cayce emphasized that the living can help the dead not by clinging, but by lifting. When we pray for a departed soul, yes, even for a cat, we participate in a spiritual law that transcends grief. The vibration of prayer acts as light, clearing confusion, easing fear, and surrounding the soul with love. Have you noticed how after praying for a pet you lost your heart? Feels lighter, as though a burden was shared. That lightness may be more than psychological comfort. It may be the sign that your love has reached across the veil, giving strength to a soul in transition. From this place of guidance and reflection, a calling eventually comes. Cayce spoke of the call to return not always to earth, but to the next phase of the soul's journey. Some souls, sensing unfinished lessons, choose to reincarnate. Others, having fulfilled their purpose, linger in the higher planes, sometimes even serving as guardians to those still on earth. And for animal souls, there is a tenderness in this mystery. Some return in new forms, reappearing in a family's life, almost unmistakably carrying the presence of the one who left. Many pet owners testify to this, finding a new cat who curls in the same way, gazes with the same depth, as though love itself had woven a path back into their home. Here lies the deeper lesson of the middle passage. Life does not move in straight lines, but in circles of learning. What we call endings are often only returns. Karma is not a prison, but a compass pointing the soul toward its unfinished work or back into the arms where it is most needed. And our role as companions left behind is not only to grieve, but to cooperate through prayer, through memory, through trust that God's design never wastes a bond created in love. The mistake Cayce warned is to assume this stage is automatic, that every soul ascends easily. Some cling to regret, some resist forgiveness, some wander longer than they must. But for those carried by love and lifted by prayer, the middle passage becomes not a labyrinth, but a school. It is where the cat's soul learns that it is more than fur and bone, more than the years it lived. It is a spark in God's eternal design. And so the story moves forward. The days of lingering are over. The lessons of karma have begun to unfold. The call has been heard. What happens next is not merely reflection, but revelation. It is the most intimate moment of the soul's journey. The meeting with the higher self and the embrace of God's eternal purpose. The middle passage may feel like a vast classroom, but what awaits beyond it is not simply knowledge, it is recognition. Edgar Cayce described the final stage of the 30-day journey as the soul's encounter with its higher self, the radiant essence untouched by time or pain. For a cat's soul, just as for a human's, this moment is not about becoming something new. It is about remembering what it has always been. Think of it as the unveiling of a mirror, unlike any other. When the cat's soul looks into it, it does not see the body it once wore, or even the personality that purred, hunted, or played. It sees light purity, a spark that has forever belonged to God. This higher self is not separate. It is the eternal design within every creature, the divine imprint that carries both memory and purpose. Here, two paths diverge. Some souls, still entangled in confusion or clinging to earthly bonds, turn away from the mirror. They are not condemned, but they are not ready. They linger, sometimes seeking another round of earthly life to finish what they began. Other souls, humbled and open, gaze into the mirror and are transformed. They feel the truth of Cayce's words that we are not physical beings seeking the spiritual, but spiritual beings walking a physical path. This distinction between the unready and the awakened is vital. The unready soul resists forgiveness, refuses to let go of grief or anger. Its lessons repeat until it chooses otherwise. The awakened soul, by contrast, surrenders. It understands that even suffering was part of God's teaching, that even loss was never wasted. It chooses either to rest in God's light or to return with renewed mission, carrying love into another life. What makes this stage profoundly moving is the role of love as the final currency. Power, titles, possessions all vanish. What remains is love given and love received. Have you ever noticed how a cat, in its quiet way, teaches this truth? It does not care for wealth, for reputation, for the illusions humans chase. It seeks presence, warmth, the simple gift of connection. In that sense, the soul of a cat reflects the lesson we often forget, that love is the only treasure that passes beyond the grave. Cayce even suggested that in these final days, souls may join soul groups, families of spirits bound across lifetimes. If you have ever felt that your pet was more than coincidence, that it entered your life at the exact moment you needed healing, you may have touched this mystery. Perhaps that cat's higher self had walked with yours before. Perhaps it will again. Prophecies of collective return echo this idea, a time when groups of souls, human and animal, reincarnate together to aid humanity's awakening. The bonds we form here are not temporary. They are threads in a divine tapestry. And then there is the most intimate vision, the higher self as God's design reflected to us. For the cat's soul, this is the moment of full attunement when it rests in the vibration of divine peace. For the grieving human, it is a reminder that what was loved has not perished, but has risen. In Christ's resurrection appearances, 40 days of presence before ascension, we find the same truth. Death is not severance, but transformation. So what lesson can we carry into our hearts that awakening is not only for the dead, but for the living? We too are invited to face our own higher self while still on earth. We too are asked to measure our lives not by what we accumulate, but by how much love we give. And we too must choose to linger in fear or to rise in faith. A woman once shared her story of losing her cat after 15 years. She prayed daily for peace and one night dreamed of her pet sitting in a meadow of light. The cat did not meow. It only looked at her with a gaze that seemed to pierce time itself. When she woke, her grief was lighter, as though the dream had not been a dream, but a glimpse. Such moments are the soul's way of saying, "Do not fear. Love endures." I am with you still. As we close this reflection on the 30-day journey, let us pause. Your cat's soul, like yours, carries the divine spark. It lingers to comfort, it learns to grow, and it rises to awaken. Nothing born of love is ever lost. Death is but a doorway. Love is the path that leads through it. Now the question turns to you. What are you doing today that your soul will thank you for tomorrow? Are you living from fear or faith? Are you clinging to what fades, or are you building with love what endures? These are not distant mysteries, they are invitations for this very moment. If this message stirred something in your heart, take a moment to reflect. Share it with someone who is grieving, someone who needs to hear that no bond of love is ever wasted. And if you found peace here, help this community grow. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell so you never miss another revelation. Together, let us keep walking in the light, guided by God's eternal design, until the day we all awaken to the truth we are eternal, and love is the bridge that carries us home.